Real people, real confessions, the stories you weren't supposed to hear. Welcome to Beyond Reddit Stories. I still remember the sound. That laugh, sharp, careless, slicing through the air like a knife you don't even see coming. It wasn't the kind of laugh you share with friends. It was the kind you use to put someone in their place to remind them they're less than you. Back then, I didn't say anything. I just lowered my head, adjusted the strap on the package I was delivering, and walked away. But 2 years later, I walked into the same building. Only this time, I wasn't carrying a package. I was carrying a pen that would sign the papers making me the new owner of their company. And here's the thing, when I pushed open the boardroom door, the room fell silent. Those same faces, pale, eyes darting, like they were trying to piece together the math. How? You could see it in their eyes. How is he sitting at the head of the table? I didn't answer them right away, because the truth is, the story isn't simple. It's not just about money, or revenge, or even business. It's about every time I was told I wasn't enough, every time someone looked at my job and saw nothing. So if you've ever been laughed at for the way you make a living, if you've ever swallowed your pride because someone thought they were better than you, stay with me. Because I'm going to tell you exactly how a broke delivery driver mocked, humiliated, and nearly broken ended up buying the very company that once laughed in his face. And why? When I finally had the chance to fire them all, I didn't. Before all of that, before the boardrooms, before the contracts, before anyone even knew my name, I was just Alex, a guy in his mid-20s, living in a one-bedroom apartment that smelled faintly of instant noodles and cheap detergent. My mornings were always the same. Wake up before sunrise, coffee in a chipped mug, quick shower, then into that faded blue courier uniform. It was the kind of job nobody brags about, driving around in a van older than me, delivering packages for a tiny local delivery service that barely made rent each month. I wasn't miserable, but I wasn't proud either. It was survival. Pay the bills, keep the lights on, maybe have just enough left for a greasy burger on Friday nights. Across the street from our office was the regional branch of a big-name logistics company. Their building was all glass and steel, the kind that reflected the morning sun like it was announcing to the world, "We're important." You'd see their employees in sharp suits, sipping branded coffee, laughing as they stepped into automatic sliding doors. At first, I barely noticed them. We had our world, they had theirs. But slowly, I started to notice the looks, the smirks when I'd carry a stack of packages past their entrance, the whispered comments I couldn't quite hear, but could feel. Then one day, I was waiting for the light to change at the crosswalk, holding 2 heavy boxes. A couple of their guys walked by, and one of them, without even lowering his voice, said, "Man, imagine doing that for a living." They laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. It stuck with me. Not because it hurt, at least. That's what I told myself, but because there was something so certain in their tone, like my life was a punchline, and they were the only ones in on the joke. The thing is, I wasn't lazy. When I wasn't working deliveries, I was reading books on business, finance, stories of people who'd started from nothing. It wasn't that I wanted to stay a delivery guy forever, I just didn't know the next step yet. But that moment, standing there on the sidewalk with those boxes in my hands and their laughter in my ears, that was the first crack in the ordinary. The moment the story really started, even if I didn't know it yet. It didn't stop with a few laughs on the sidewalk. The comments became more creative, louder, sharper. Some days, when I parked the van out front, I'd hear them from the steps of their building. "Hey man, careful. You're gonna pull a muscle delivering all that Amazon Prime." Or, "Need us to chip in for some gas money." They'd chuckle, shake their heads, and walk off like they'd just done stand-up at the Apollo. I learned to ignore it, or at least I thought I did. Until one afternoon, my phone started buzzing notification after notification. Someone had sent me a link. It was a TikTok video of me. I was on screen, hunched over in my uniform, delivering a package to their building. In the background, you could hear 2 of their employees filming, whisper laughing, making jokes about my van, my clothes, my job. The caption read, "Career Goals." It had over 50,000 views. People I didn't even know were tagging me, sending it around, laughing. It wasn't just a bad joke anymore, it was public humiliation. and it hurt more than I expected. The next week, I noticed some clients canceling their delivery contracts. They never said it was because of the video, but I could tell. Small town gossip travels fast. And in the business world, perception is everything. The money started drying up. My landlord slid an eviction notice under my door. And then, just to complete the perfect storm, my van broke down, repair bill, more than my monthly rent. I remember sitting in that apartment, lights off to save on the bill, thinking maybe they were right. Maybe this was all I'd ever be. A broke courier in a cheap uniform. That's when the phone rang. It was Mrs. Chen, the elderly shop owner I'd been delivering for since my first day on the job. She needed a pickup for some packages, even though I had to borrow a friend's car to get there. When I arrived, she took one look at me and said, "You look like you've been punched in the soul." I laughed weakly, told her the story. She didn't get angry for me. She didn't tell me to fight back. She just said one sentence that stuck in my head like a nail. They only laugh because they're scared you might prove them wrong. It didn't make sense at the time. Scared. Of me. I was a delivery guy in a dying business. But that night, lying in bed, I couldn't shake it. What if she was right? What if I could prove them wrong? And that was the spark. The first thought of something bigger. I didn't know it yet. But the path that would lead me to owning their company started right there. The next morning, I woke up with Mrs. Chen's words still echoing in my head. They're scared you might prove them wrong. I didn't know how to do that. I had no rich relatives, no hidden trust fund, no miracle lottery ticket, but I had two things: time and stubbornness. I started reading everything I could get my hands on about business, not just how to run one, but how to buy one. Turns out, failing companies go up for sale all the time. And sometimes, the price isn't millions. It's the size of a used car loan, if you know where to look. So I made a plan. First step, save money. I sold my old TV, my gaming console, even my watch. I picked up night shifts delivering food on my bicycle. I ate instant noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My friends stopped inviting me out because the answer was always, "Sorry, can't working." It was exhausting, but with every dollar saved, the picture in my head became clearer. Not revenge, not even proving them wrong, just freedom. One night, while scrolling through business listings, I saw it, a small notice: regional logistics branch for sale, urgent, owner retiring, the address. You guessed it, the same glass and steel building across the street from my old courier office. At first, I thought it was a scam, but the more I dug, the more real it became. The branch had been bleeding money for months. Contracts lost, bad management, poor morale. They were desperate to offload it before it became a total loss. I didn't have the full amount, but I had a contact from one of my night delivery clients, a quiet, wealthy guy who once told me he liked underdog bets. I pitched him the idea I'd run the branch, turn it around. He'd put in the capital. To my shock, he said yes. The day of the meeting, I walked into that building in my cheapest shirt and tie, clutching a folder full of documents like it was a life raft. The negotiations lasted hours. I kept my voice calm, even when my hands were sweating through the paper. And then, they slid the contract across the table. All it needed was my signature. The pen felt heavier than it should have. Not because of the ink, but because of everything it carried: every insult. Every night I went to bed hungry. Every morning I woke up wondering if it was worth it. When I signed, I didn't smile. I just exhaled. It was done. I was now the majority owner of the very same branch where those suits used to laugh at me from the doorway. And in 2 days, I'd be walking back into that building not as the delivery guy, but as the boss. 2 days later, I stepped into that glass and steel building again. Same polished floors, same smell of coffee from the lobby cafe. But this time, I wasn't carrying packages. I was carrying ownership papers in my briefcase. Word had already spread. When I walked into the main office, conversation stopped mid-sentence. A few people glanced at me, then quickly looked away. And there they were, the two guys from the TikTok video. The same smirks were gone. One stared at his desk. The other tried to force a smile. I didn't come here to gloat. I'd had enough nights imagining revenge to know it wouldn't feel as good as people think. Instead, I called a staff meeting. They gathered in the conference room, the same one I'd seen once through the glass from the street, thinking I'd never set foot inside. I stood at the head of the table and told them my story. Not the cleaned-up version, the real one. The cheap van, the jokes, the eviction notice, the humiliation. Some people looked uncomfortable, some looked ashamed, a few even looked inspired. Then I told them the plan. We were going to rebuild this branch. We were going to respect every role in the company, from the interns to the delivery drivers, because I'd been in those shoes, and I knew what it felt like to be treated as invisible. I didn't fire the ones who mocked me. I gave them the same chance I wished someone had given me, not because I was soft, but because I wanted to prove something bigger. Dignity isn't a perk you earn with a fancy title. It's the starting point for everyone. And in that moment, I realized something. The win wasn't in buying the company. The win was in knowing I'd turned the worst moments of my life into the foundation of something better for me, and for everyone who'd ever been underestimated. So that's how it happened. From a faded courier uniform to the head of the table, from being the punchline to writing my own story. But this isn't just about me, because I know somewhere out there someone's laughing at you right now. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your clothes, your car, your apartment. Maybe they've already decided who you'll be, before you've even had the chance to prove them wrong. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever swallowed your pride just to keep going, I want to hear your story. Leave it in the comments. Not for me, for the people scrolling late at night who might need to know they're not alone. And if you want more real stories, not fairy tales, not overnight miracles, but the messy, honest truth about building yourself from the ground up, stick around. Hit subscribe, turn on the notifications, not because I'm asking, but because one day, you might need to hear the next story when you're ready to make your move. And remember this: never laugh at someone's hustle, because the person you're mocking today might just be signing your paycheck tomorrow.